Pakistan and India, which is the neighbor of Pakistan, plus the Bangladesh, which is another neighbor of Pakistan, were one country, and there was a partition in 1947 which made Pakistan and India separate.
Pakistan was actually based on the idea that there should be a Muslim country. So Pak actually means pure, and Stan is the land, so land of the pure.
And that was more or less kind of the longing of Muslims to create their own state, where they will be able to have their own independence, their own way of life.
I was in fact not born in Pakistan. I was born in Delhi. I have vague memories of our family moving to Karachi. We left everything when we moved. We just moved with what we had on as refugees. Before partition, it used to be a city just of few thousand people. And then after partition, with all the migration from India, it became big.
After partition, the person who actually was probably the most instrumental in the creation of Pakistan was Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and he's called the Qaid-e-Azam, or great leader. And unfortunately, a year after the creation of Pakistan, he died of tuberculosis. And Pakistan was kind of left without a leader, and there was a huge vacuum, which I honestly don't think has ever really been filled.
For sure, political struggle is part of life, as you know. But there are some kind of foundational fundamentals that people need to come together.
When Pakistan was established, the very first constitution of Pakistan had reserved seats for women in the national parliament.
Pakistan has 4 provinces, Punjab, Sindh, Balochistan, and NWFP, which is the northern western frontier province.
Each of these provinces has their own, almost in a sense, their own language, their own foods, their own culture. And each of them is different in a lot of ways.
Those cultures are thousands and thousands of years old.
We have approximately 7 official languages in Pakistan, and I think more than 20 dialects.
Urdu is the main language of the country, but each of the areas has their own basic language, and then there are dialects within that language. And one of the things I think people don't realize is that Pakistan is like one of the most diverse countries I've ever seen. You have mountains and deserts and like rich, fertile areas, and agriculture is really big in certain areas.
And when you go up north, it snows there, and there's like really pretty mountains and all kinds of different people.
We traveled actually a lot going back. We'd spend our summers in Pakistan, and especially in Abbottabad, and it's a small mountainous town. It's basically very hard to get to. The roads are literally carved out of the mountain. In the last 30 or 40 years, it's become like a vacation destination because it's a beautiful area, green and lush, and in the summer times where the rest of Pakistan is really, really hot, it's where it's still cool and there's mountain breezes, and it's just a beautiful area.
That is the area at that time when you go for vacation, when you don't want to hear anything else. You just go there, relax, enjoy the nature, and the people are so receptive.
Very, very poor, but very proud, very hospitable people.
I remember once I went with my wife after our wedding, and we went to this Sawat, and actually we didn't have a booking of a hotel. And hotels were not like Marriott and, Holiday Inn type of hotel. And they were kind of motels, small, and very limited facilities. So we went there and we didn't have a booking beforehand. There was a sign hotel. We went in there and we asked him that we didn't have a booking and do you have a place? So I was insisting that how much you are going to charge. He said, don't worry, you just take the room, rest, and then we'll talk it later.
For them, the guest is like a god.
People are very open. That's part of the religion also, is that when it comes to hospitality, you are very hospitable. It's part of, you find a traveler who's lost their way, it is your obligation to help that person.
I'm a physician, so I'm working with Lexington Clinic at St. Joe Hospital. I had recently experienced a few years back when there was an earthquake, and I went back there in that area and spent some time as a voluntary basis being a physician. I have seen that a lot. People who are illiterate, who they don't know how to read and write, but they have this sense of feeling of responsibility, of sharing and giving, and they have been doing that.
I was a freshman in college when that happened, and all these friends were telling me about how everyone gathered together and helped out, and it was mostly more than the government, it was the citizens of Pakistan helping each other out.
I'm very proud of part of our Pakistani community in Lexington, because at that time I saw the enthusiasm and the love and affection for the country the people are just pouring out. I was part of that, so we were one of those who were, our heart goes out for the people. We are, seeing on the TV and listening, and it was a very massive disaster. And I still have a few friends who are living in that area, Frontier, and they say, yeah, we have a lot of need, and the people are coming, and if you want to come, just come, and we'll set you in. We have a lot of free clinics are going on there, and just join us. So I didn't give a second thought. I just tell my wife that I'm leaving, and I just got 2 weeks off. We reached Balakot around, it was 11:30 or 12 at night, and we were driving, and everywhere you just see the destruction. The houses were demolished, and the roads were blocked, and there were cracks, and there were big stones. It's like the whole mountains and hills came down like this, crumble. I spent almost a week there, so it's a different life there. We wake up in the morning and start seeing the patient, and then we don't know when it's going to end, because it's a long, huge line. When I went there, I saw the people over there, all over the Pakistan. Everyone want to help in one way or the other. They are bringing out their clothes, their food, whatever they can. Sometimes they didn't realize that how we are going to help them, and they were just asking each other, tell us what I can do. So, that is very hopeful. The hope comes from seeing the people who are ready to help others without any personal benefit, just on the basis of humanity.
The characteristics of the population are different. They are very tribal society. Karachi is not a tribal society at all. It's a very metropolitan, urban population.
Life in Pakistan is like, I've visited New York, I've visited Chicago. Life in Pakistan is very similar to that. It's very fast-paced, and we lived in the city, so it's a dirty, grimy, it's a metropolitan city, population of 20 million, and we lived in Karachi.
Karachi is in the southern. It's the largest city in Pakistan, but it's also probably, I think, the 15th largest in the world.
When I came from Karachi, my first city in the US was New York. And for me, New York was just like home. I was used to a 24-hour city, and New York was just perfect for me. I loved it.